We create jobs and make entrepreneurial dreams come true. ACE, a nonprofit community lender, specializes in small business loans coupled with business advisory services. ACE has loaned more than $39 million, helped over 725 business owners fulfill their dreams, and ACE has helped its clients create or retain more than 6,200 jobs. These are the stories of those businesses we've helped reach success and claim their American dream.
Welcome to Ace's Best Stories. I'm your host, Eric Holtzclaw. Ace's Best Stories focuses on the entrepreneurial journey. What does it take to successfully start a business and get it off the ground? We're talking today with Nigel Walwyn. He is the founder and CEO of Caribbean Smooth, and their product is Louie.
Oh, yeah.
And if you're not following them on Instagram, what's your Instagram?
Sip Louie, SIPOUOUI.
You should, because that's definitely a way to see the product itself. So talk to me a little bit about what is Louie.
So Louie is a rum liqueur made with real fruits, which is a differentiator for us, because most of the liqueurs that are ready to drink have artificial flavoring and other elements to make it look like fruit, smell like fruit, taste like fruit. But we're not trying to do any of that. We are the fruit.
Okay.
So it's a rum liqueur with real fruit and spices.
Okay. So and that makes sense from the perspective of I can almost always taste the artificial flavors. So when you're drinking something or whatever, it's why I've never not liked some of the colas that are,
Right.
Because you can tell.
You can tell, yes. And we do use some flavorings. We use natural flavorings just for a little enhancement. But, when I first went into the distillery and into the lab, they were trying to push, hey, that's how everybody's doing it.
Mm-hmm.
Why are you using real fruit? Why? And I'm like, hey, I'm from the Caribbean.
Right.
We keep it real down there. So I wanted to bring that type of flavor to the product and to the industry.
Yeah. So tell me about getting into this. Has this always been like the lifelong dream, or
Actually, no.
were you mixing up alcohol as a kid?
Yeah, actually, yes. I tell the story sometimes of, when I was like 10 years old, I would spike my lemonade. I always make my lemonade and all my juices and so forth. And I would spike my lemonade with my dad's brandy. And that was just about changing the flavor profile.
Right.
And had nothing to do with getting a buzz or anything like that. I didn't know what that was. But I've always been, I guess, my own little mixologist, always trying to find flavors, discover new things. And that's what happened with Louie. I went home, visited my dad, went out in the backyard, picked some passion fruit, put a juice together, decided to add some adult content. And and I was like, wow, this is different. I've never tasted anything like that. I was really awestruck with what I had tasted. And I continued developing it a little. And next thing, it became kind of the drink for family and friends.
Oh, wow.
They would invite the drink and then say, hey, Nigel, you can come along too. And next thing you know, people were, paying me to make it for their parties, for their cookouts, just for their get-togethers or whatever. And I decided 4 years ago that I was going to, almost 4 years ago, that I was going to leave my career and bring this to the world and take it to market.
So you're turning a side hustle into a business.
Yes. It has turned into a business that has been very fulfilling so far.
Okay.
Even the journey to get here.
So from a background perspective, what were you doing prior to?
So I went to college for television. So I studied television production and started working in the news industry.
Okay.
And so I was a news executive with ABC stations, different parts of the country, and finally ended up at CNN. And that's where I decided that I was going to end my career after 25 years, award-winning career, to start my own rum liquor company.
What did friends and family think of that?
they were like, really? Okay, let's see what happens. They were actually very supportive.
Yeah.
And I think quietly they were maybe a little bit skeptical,
Hmm.
but they trusted me. They trusted my judgment. And so yeah, they I didn't get a lot of pushback. It was kind of like, really, wow. I don't think they really knew what to think, to tell you the truth. Going from news to booze, why not?
That's awesome. That's your
Yes.
own individual tagline. I went from
Yes.
news to booze.
Yes. I've actually written up my press
The
releases
news
like that.
often makes us want booze, but
Yes, it does. I've had those days. I've had those days. But it was recognizing a gift. And that's what I consider it. I consider it a gift, recognizing that, and then taking the steps to bring it to fruition.
yeah. So there's a big difference between doing something as a side hustle and then deciding that that's going to become your business.
Right.
And I know that people were asking you to bring the product and then asking you to come. So
Yes.
what was really the thing that told you, like, I need to make this more available?
When I was actually, some days walking into CNN with the
Bottles.
product,
Okay,
with
yeah, right,
bottles
right.
for my bosses and my boss's bosses and just strangers who had heard about it and just wanted me to give them a taste, and everybody, the reaction. I just knew I had something. I would tell you there was a watershed moment for me in St. Kitts. St. Kitts is one of the islands that inspired this, where I grew up, and I made this drink for a VIP tent at a music festival
Okay.
that my cousin was in charge of, and she was skeptical about this punch that I told her that I would make. And I made about 2-3 gallons of it, and it's sat there for a little bit because people didn't quite know what it was, and then word just started spreading as the adventurous ones decided to go and
Yeah,
check
to
it
try
out,
it. Yeah.
and next thing you know, in just over an hour, it was gone,
Oh, wow.
and everybody was just talking about this amazing drink, and that to me, if see that I had impressed my own people who can make their own
Right. Right.
fantastic drinks with rums and so forth. If I had impressed them, I knew I could impress the rest of the world.
Yeah.
And so it was a recognition of that I had something special. And then the next step was, okay, how do I parlay that into a product and into a company?
Yeah, and that is the challenge.
That
So,
is the challenge.
often when you think about a technology or a services company, those are quote unquote easier to do because you got to find a person and you sell
Yeah.
their service. Or if it's a
Right.
technology product, you build it and put it up on the web.
Right.
This, you have to go through manufacturing, creation of the product.
Yes.
Yeah.
And even before you get there, you have to go through all of the licensing.
Yeah.
No one would even talk to me without my federal basic permit. And I remember I called the distillery, part of my research, and they were like, call us back when you get that permit. Click. And that took almost 4 months for
Oh,
me to
wow.
get. And I did it myself. And I got that. And then the conversation started changing. Because then it was a trigger for the industry and people in the industry to know that, okay, this guy is serious, because they know the steps and how difficult this is.
So talk to me about the steps. So if I'm listening now and I think that I have a product in the same category, where do I need to start?
Don't do it.
Everybody says that. Everybody says that.
It.
I did it, but you shouldn't do it.
You should do it. If you were sane, don't do it. It's a tough road. It's a very tough industry. There's certain milestones that you have to hit, and then there'll be more. So the process for it again is getting all of the licensing, and once you get that squared away, then it's, how are you going to get the product? If it's vodka, if it's rum, if it's cognac, you may have to, if it's cognac, you have to go to France,
Right.
because, that's where they do cognac. If it's vodka, there are mass producers out there that, then you could just, create your own brand, but they sell that vodka to different people. In my case with rum, I was able to contact a distillery. They have distilleries in the Caribbean and in Florida, and they produce their own products, and they also provide rums for other products. So, I had my formulation, and I was able to, take it into the lab, refine it, reverse engineer it to some aspect, and then refine it, and then took it into the distillery for some more lab work, get it all together. Had to get that approved by the government. The government is in everything when it comes to alcohol,
Right.
and so the formulation had to be approved. We went back and forth with them. That ended up taking me about a year and a half.
Oh, wow.
To get, because we had different iterations of it. We had to make some changes and so
Well,
forth.
is it changes because they were requiring things, or because things
Yes.
didn't taste the way that you expected?
No,
or-
they were requiring certain things, and part of it too was the taste of it. We wanted to just perfect certain things and change certain things. And every change you make, you have to go back,
Yeah.
especially if they approve it. If you submit it and they approve it and you make a change, you have to send it back in again for the
So
approval
give me
process.
just an example, because I've heard this before. I've interviewed other people who've brought
Mhm.
brands like this to market. So
Mhm.
give me an example of something that they might push back and say, you have to go change this.
An example. Let's see. Did I have something that they push back on? Say if it's for instance, we had. Well, no, that comes to the labeling.
So it'd be more around labeling.
So even the labeling has to be approved by them, but the formulation, gosh, can't think of anything right off the top. But if it's something that they don't classify as a spirit, for
Okay.
instance, there's a rum spirit that's produced in Brazil, but they don't call it rum; they call it cachaça.
Okay.
And the government, U.S. government, did not recognize cachaça as a spirit. They
Okay.
recognized it as a rum.
Ah,
And so I know there was one producer that got rejected, and they had to jump through some loopholes, get some lawmakers involved in order for for it to now be classified and categorized within the
wow.
government. So, that was one of the biggest examples that I heard of. I did not go through that. I had my own rejections, but it did not have anything to do with my formulation. Um, I guess I prevented that from happening by actually taking one of the products out myself.
Got it.
There was a fruit product that I had in the guava pineapple, and it's a cashew juice, but it doesn't come from the nut; it comes from the fruit itself.
Okay.
And so many people were so unfamiliar with it. It's huge in Brazil. I grew up eating this fruit,
Right.
delicious, but I just knew that
Yeah.
I was going to have all kind of problems trying to get this approved.
Yeah, you have to think about that, because in certain countries they eat things that you don't eat,
Right.
and it's just regular.
Yes.
So we're gonna go to a commercial break, and when we
Okay.
get back, we're gonna talk a little bit about that process of the manufacturing.
Yes.
I'm very curious because you're using real fruit, so like
Yes.
getting the manufacturer to work with that, because
Right.
it sounds different from
Yes.
other materials, and then what you're doing to market the business to kind of. It's not about getting it on the shelf. It's about then getting it back off. the
Yes,
shelf.
it's about getting it off the shelf.
All
Yes.
right. So we'll be
Absolutely.
back in just a second. You're listening to Ace's Best Stories. I'm talking today with Nigel Walwyn. He is the founder and CEO of Caribbean Smooth, and their product is Louie.
Oh yeah.
If it wasn't for Ace, my business may have closed in 1 year.
If it wasn't for Ace, my business wouldn't be expanded as much as it's expanding right now. They were there for me at the time of my need.
If it wasn't for Ace, we would not be here today.
If it wasn't for Ace, I would very much still be cooking at an hourly rate, and I would have never impacted hundreds of lives and an entire community.
I still remember going to different kind of banks, big banks, and with papers, and these people send me back because I don't have, I had experience in the restaurant business, but I don't have, everything else this bank needed. And I believe in me.
I did the research in Adult Day. I had experienced it personally because my grandfather had Alzheimer's. So I wanted to do the business myself, get into it because I knew I could make a difference.
Initially, when we started, there was only one person, which would be me. And then the company I've grown from 1% to 8, and we provide quality assurance, quality control testing for FDA-regulated companies.
I think Grace not only completely understands what it's like to start off in an office connected to your laundry room or wherever she was, but she also understands the growth process. And I think that she does an excellent job of making sure that everybody who works with ACE has an understanding of the kind of struggles and celebrations that you can have.
ACE has helped us with putting our business idea into the market, working with us with the business, actually working, actually showing us, guiding me personally, how to solve some of my marketing issue problems or with the business planning.
You don't meet many lenders that are invested in your success. And, from their classes or presentations, seminars, they really do have a vested interest in your success.
The best advice I can do to small business owners is follow your dreams. Always follow your dreams, follow your heart.
Have a plan. Just because you have a passion for it doesn't mean that you can start a good business.
Get ready for the ride of your life, and definitely make sure that you look out for fantastic resources like ACE.
ACE is the way to go.
You're just the best. They really are.
And we're back. You're listening to Ace's Best Stories. I'm talking today with Nigel Walwyn. He is the founder and CEO of Caribbean Smooth. Their product, and maybe there will be other products, we'll talk about that as we go through, is called Louie.
Oh, yeah.
Nigel and I have this thing going on.
Which, oh, yeah, is the translation for Louie.
Is it?
Yes.
Oh, all right. I thought it was like this is really good.
That too. Yeah.
Like that's what you would say after. Yeah.
Right. Yeah,
so Louie is a combination of rum and real fruit.
Real fruit and spices.
And spices, yes. And so as we were going through the story and talking about getting approvals, you then have to find a place to have it manufactured.
Right. And, I lucked up because as I was looking through the list of distilleries, as to that first call that I was going to make, I came across Caribbean Distillers in Florida. And I'm like, wow, they already have Caribbean in their name. And a little research on them, they had some background stuff with a rum that I was very familiar with, that they actually designed the flavorings for, a major rum that's on the market, has been on the market for years. Not only that, they also manufacture and package fruit products, juice products.
Okay. So they were comfortable with.
So they were comfortable. They're certified to handle those type of products. And so it was like a match made in heaven. It was perfect. They had the rums. They know how to handle fruit. They're certified across the board with all of that. So it was a no-brainer. I didn't have to call another distillery.
Did they take you seriously when you called?
No, they were actually in the previous segment. They were the ones who said, "Call us back when you get your permit."
Okay.
And then after I get to that step, and I still don't think they're taking me seriously. When I get up to 100,000 cases, then they'll probably be like, "Okay, we need to pay attention to this guy."
Yeah. Well, the manufacturers get calls, I'm sure, all the time for stuff.
Yes.
And,
yeah. I'm not the only game that they have. Their number of other suppliers. Arizona Tea is one of their big.
Oh,
big
wow.
guys.
Okay. Yeah. That's definitely a kind of fruit and tea.
Yes.
So not. I don't want you to give any trade secrets away. I'm just
Mhm.
curious. Do you take the rum and then you put it with the fruit and then that's the product, or is it the rum and the product and then it needs to still distill for a period of time?
We start with the formulation of the rum. There's a precise formulation, so it's not just like a rum and juice.
Mhm.
I actually started with different grades of rums, actually light rum, dark rums, aged and fresh. And so we formulated precisely that blend. Then we blend in the fruits and the spices, and those are also precise. Because even when I was in the kitchen doing my development of it, if something was off, you could tell it would change the taste almost drastically.
Yeah, right.
So it's very precisely formulated, and that took some time because we had to reverse engineer it.
Yeah.
And I went to not only the distillery lab, but another leading lab that works with everybody from Coca-Cola to your cereal companies. One of their top nutritionists, or not nutritionists, but scientists, that flavorists that I worked with, and it took us some time to get there.
Yeah, because small batch creation is very different from mass.
Yeah, and I had to kind of get comfortable with that, because how it tastes in the lab with half a gallon to how it tastes with 1,000 gallons. There's a little change there.
Yeah.
So we have to make adjustments for that, and be realistic about it.
Yeah. And so going through the process and you've selected a very interesting bottle. So the bottle is unique.
Yes, and that was on purpose. We wanted to create something that was eye-catching. Our products are designed especially for women. So I wanted to be appealing to women from when you see it to when you taste it. And that included the bottle. It's a familiar shape of a woman. And, we also consider it something that you can reuse even after you finish the bottle. You can reuse it as a vase.
Okay.
To put a tulip in, rose, use it for some part of your decor. So we wanted to create something attractive.
Yeah. And so going through the process of the bottle itself, I mean,
Mm-hmm.
did you find someone, did they have to make a custom bottle for you?
Yes, it was a customized bottle. There was a gentleman out of New York that I worked with, and I knew what I wanted, but I did not. I just told him what my concept was of the product, of the brand. Wanted to see what he was going to come up with, and it was strikingly similar to what I had also created, and that was it. It was it was crazy. I almost fell out of my chair when he sent it to me, and I looked at what I had sketched out that I hadn't shared with him and what he had, and we came to basically the same.
Yeah, and you were telling me before the interview, so it's dark on purpose.
Yes, so we created it black so that it can create the fruit, because we have real fruit in there. The entire bottle is black except for the very bottom, and you could flip that and see the content, but it protects from the sunlight, the UV rays, those elements, natural elements that would break fruit down. So we wanted to help protect that, extend the shelf life. So that's why the bottles are black. So it helps preserve the real fruit content that's in there, along with the rums. That's why we don't have to use artificial preservatives. Okay. The rum itself at 20%, 40 proof, is a natural preservative.
Oh, okay.
So it won't ever spoil. There would never be any bacteria that would form in the bottle.
Right. And so so you get bottles, you've manufactured them. Now the next step is you got to get people to
Oh my
try it and get the
gosh.
product out there,
Now
right?
the real work
Now
begins.
the real work begins.
The real work begins.
Everybody gets the thing and they're like, yay, I have it. Now.
And it's a two-step process because you have to build brand awareness. You have to
Right.
let people know. So you have to push the brand. And that's just one step. The next step is now you have to pull it.
Yeah.
So you have to get people to actually go into the stores and pull it off the shelves. And that's a balancing act that you have to just manage throughout the life of your product and of your company.
So talk to me about how you're approaching that.
When I started building the company 3.5 years ago, I immediately started the social media marketing. I immediately let people know what was going on. The very first thing I put out there were these lips. Just these red lips, nothing else. And I remember my former boss called me and was like, "What the hell is that?" I don't know. He probably thought I was going into the porn industry or something, But he was like, "What is that you're putting out?" And I explained it to him.
Louie, oh yeah.
I didn't even have a name for it then. There was another name for it that I can't, use. I could, the lawyers was like, can't do that. And so Louie just came about because that's what I would hear people say when they would taste it. And I just had to find a clever way to spell it and give it some meaning. And that's why, oh yeah, it's ooh yeah in French,
Yeah.
So, and it's all about positive expression. But social media, man, that we've started doing that 3 years ago, and we're continuing to do that. We've built up organically our Instagram and Facebook following that continues as people are hearing more about it. So we definitely have a presence there, and we think it's the most important thing we can do.
Yeah. So you got the social media piece, and then also getting people to try it for the first time.
Yeah, so we're doing a lot of tastings and at different events. We're also now going to be working on going into the clubs and the restaurants and getting sampling there and getting people to taste different cocktails. You could make 1,000,001 cocktails.
Yeah, I was about to ask that. So, because sometimes the product stands alone, and sometimes it's part of a cocktail,
and it's both.
Yeah,
it's both. You can drink it by itself because it has the real fruits and everything. It's ready to serve over ice, or like I said, 1,000,001 cocktails. One of the quick cocktails you can make is mimosas. We call them dirty mimosas, off of the word dirty, because we dirty up the champagne with the spices and the real fruits. So you just pour the passion fruit Louie directly into champagne, and you have mimosas.
A brunch choice.
Yes, a brunch choice. Red wine. You have some red wine at home. Add it to the passion fruit Louie. Sangrias instantly. Add a little fresh fruit in there, and you're good to go. You don't have to get 5-6 different ingredients and all this stuff.
Wait
just
for
just
it.
a red wine.
Yeah, because sangria is one of those things that has to sit typically.
Right,
yeah.
right. So the Louie has been sitting already, and I'll just add your red wine, and the wine has been sitting already too. So you just put those two things together, and you get instant sangria.
Very nice. And so next for you, so is there a product line here? Is it different flavors?
Yes.
So
this is just the start. This is we have a lot more flavors coming. I've developed actually about 5 flavors, experimented with the 6th, and all exotic. All of these flavors, the fruits actually grew in our backyard. I grew up eating these fruits, making my own juices from these fruits. That's the experience that I'm bringing to America in these bottles. A real taste of the islands. So, I don't want to say what the other flavors are, but trust me.
Yeah, that's okay. Trade secrets. You can come back.
They are going to be outstanding. I've tested some of my team members with them, just blew their minds. So we're real excited. We'll have a seasonal flavor for next year. And so, every other year we're going to come up with something even better. The sequel is going to be better than the original.
Yeah. And so the sequence for you, so you're doing taste tests and potentially getting it into clubs and restaurants because, it's all about distribution at this point.
Right.
So then is it, because I'm not sure, so I'm asking the question, is it then like to try to get it into like liquor stores or is it
that's first
grocery
step.
stores or?
Grocery stores not in Georgia.
Okay.
The law doesn't allow that. But yeah, our first steps, we are in about 75 liquor stores now in 18 counties in North Georgia. We want to get it into every liquor store.
Take a lot of driving around.
So yeah, the distributor, that's their job.
Okay, right.
But it's driving around for me too, because
Yeah.
I have to go into these stores and check on it, promote it, and so forth. And So it's a Monday through Monday job. You could now buy alcohol on Sundays in Georgia. So every day I'm working this, and that's the reason why I left my career, because this is not a part-time gig.
Yeah.
So anyone who's looking to get into it, have a plan. Get ready to get dirty and do some really hard work and toughen your skin up. It's a tough industry, but high risk, but also high rewards if you do it right.
So on the getting it into the store, does the person who owns the store, do they have to ask for it from the distributor, or does the distributor say, here's a product? And
Both.
Okay.
They can ask for it if the people are coming in and asking for it. So we ask people to go into your stores, ask for Louie. That will trigger them to then contact the distributor. Our artisan beverages.
So you hope when they go in and say Louie that the person behind the register says, oh yeah.
Oh yeah, that'd be perfect, man. That's what we want them to say. So
do you have Louie? Oh yeah.
Oh yeah. It's right over there. Yeah.
Yeah, very nice. Well, very much. Thank you so much for joining us and for bringing product today.
I also wanted just to mention, Ace.
Yeah.
Ace changed my life, guys. Ace rescued me from this going away and never ever becoming a product. So they stepped
tell me
in.
more about that.
They held my hand. I spent 2 years trying to raise the capital for this. Did not get anywhere. Ace stepped in. Sandy Headley held my hand, walked me through the process, made it happen. So thank you to Sandy. Thank you to Grace Fricks. You guys really stepped up, literally saved my life, because I put my life into this, and they helped it happen. They made it happen.
And so from that perspective, was it about being ready to get the money, or was it that people you weren't far enough along for them to give you money? Like, what was that?
I was ready to get the money. I just wasn't the perfect person to give the money to.
Yeah.
And it's a high risk business.
Yeah.
It's a tough industry. We have, we're seeking investors. We weren't quite there where the bank needed us to be in order to give us that. So, Ace took a chance, and they saw that we had a very good product. They liked what we had. They believed in us. This is the most important thing. They believed in us.
Yeah.
And I'll be forever grateful for them for again, making this happen.
Well, we wish you the greatest of luck.
Yes, thank you so much
for joining us.
All right, then.
You've been listening to Ace's Best Stories. We've been talking with Nigel Walwyn. He's the founder and CEO of Caribbean Smooth. Their product is Louie.
Oh, yeah.
Go and look for it in your local store, and make sure that you tune in next week to Ace's next best story.